Alright, so in today's video, I got the Highguard Platinum Trophy. Released just a few days ago, it is a 3v3 arena shooter that was announced as the main game showcased at the Game Awards. Given this is usually where a new AAA game is shown, it naturally comes with high expectations. So the mostly negative reviews and a barrage of Concord 2.0 memes going around can probably tell you how the game's release has gone. I mean, Jeff Kinley was basically the marketing behind this game, and he's the only guy that's actively been posting about the game while the devs went radio silent. Though after getting all 33 trophies, I can say although the game isn't amazing, it's definitely not as bad as the reviews make it out to be.
Are you sure about that?
But again, given the game had just released and the trophy list didn't look too bad, I was excited to grind out the platinum. As with most games, our journey starts off in the tutorial, where the game quickly reminds me that I haven't played shooters in a while and I might be getting a bit old. The rest of the tutorial is pretty straightforward, but it does drag out for a while, explaining everything about the game. But to save you said time, the first 2 minutes of the round, you run around collecting loot, trying to avoid the other team whilst the shield breaker is forming. Once you have fought them for control of the shield breaker, you then have to make your way towards their base, slightly fighting them again before starting the raid. From there you have 3 options, generators A, B or the anchor. The 2 generators will deal 35 damage each, or destroying the anchor will result in an instant win. Once we finished the tutorial, we were rewarded with the trophy, as well as being sent back into the queue I had just spent 30 minutes in prior to getting on the game.
A little while later.
After spending another 20 minutes in the queue, we finally got into our first game, which I hoped wasn't a sign of things to come. As will become apparent, the trophies in this game don't actually pop until the end of each match, which is kind of annoying, but at least for the most part they're not bugged. Now, not much actually happened in my first game, as well as I had no idea what was going on, and was still trying to figure out what buttons were actually doing what, but at least we did manage to get a couple of trophies for Trial by Combat, which is completing a raid, and Soulmates, which is for reviving a teammate. You may wonder what the reward was for this. Well, we got sent back to the queue yet again. Luckily it wasn't too long of a wait this time, but this is probably because the player base had already dropped significantly. Once we got back onto the servers for the 3rd time, our trophies from the previous game finally popped.
Well, what can I say? It's about time, am I right? High five.
By my second game, I seemed to have now figured out what was happening, as there was a little more action this time, but it was definitely helped by the other team, to be honest. I did notice this wasn't the case for long though. I don't know if there's a certain matchmaking system possibly, or the lower player base as the days went on, but the games definitely seemed significantly harder. Again, this could just be because people started to figure out how the game works, so. Anyway, during this game, we unlocked 3 more trophies, Lord of Destruction for destroying 20 walls, Legendary Armaments for wearing all 3 legendary items within a match, and Plunderer for being a loot goblin. Something I did want to touch on is the amount of downtime in each match is insane. Like the 2 minutes in between rounds is just so unnecessary, and over a 30-minute game, for example, you're probably only doing stuff for a third of it, so that's 20 minutes of just looting for nothing. For me, that's one of the first things that need changing on this game, because it really is just hard to stay engaged when nothing's happening for such large amounts every 5 minutes. And here, of course, was the trophies from that game. We actually only got 1 more trophy in the next 3 hours, which seems kind of insane considering we just started. That trophy being Soul Eater for destroying 30 orbs, which for most people will be one of the first ones you get anyway. This was actually one of the few times as well that I made good use of the big rig. Like, outside of the trophy, I just did not like using this weapon. It's slow fire rate, doesn't do a ton of damage. It's not that good, is it? It's good at destroying walls, and even that is mediocre compared to the alternatives. The next couple of hours I decided to switch my focus onto heavy cavalry, which requires 10 kills whilst riding your mount. And to be honest, it might be the least fun I had the whole time I was playing, which is saying something. The aiming system already felt a bit clunky, but it felt even worse when you're on your mount, so I thought it was best just to get out of the way. I mean, it got to a point where I was just sat on my mount head glitching the stone rocks during a raid. It was that bad. Whilst the suffering continued, I managed to pick up a couple of miscellaneous trophies on the way. Carved Path for playing 5 matches as the Warden, the Slow Blade penetrates the shield for planting a Dome Splitter, and Breaking and Entering for planting the Shield Breaker. I was actually kind of surprised it took me this long to get a couple of these, given this was about 6 or 7 matches in at this point. Now, not much actually happened in the next game either, to be honest, but I was playing Horse Simulator the whole time, so I guess it's kind of expected. But we did manage to knock off another 3 trophies, putting an end to my suffering. These being Shock and Awe for using my ultimate 3 times in a game, Battle Hardened for completing 10 matches, and of course, Heavy Cavalry for killing 10 enemies whilst on my mount. It was getting pretty late by this point, so I wasn't exactly aiming for anything specific, but I had been making progress towards Blade Burst Bullet, which is just 10 melee kills, so not the most annoying of trophies, but one that I did prefer to get out of the way sooner rather than later, because you never want to have melee kills left over, let's be honest. And then over the course of the next 2 games, I did manage to knock out the rest of this one, as well as a Pocket Full of Vesper, which is for buying 10 items from a vendor. Again, another weird one that I'm surprised I didn't get earlier on, but this did put me at the halfway point already, so we were making good progress at this point.
Mounting up. Mounting up. Let's ride.
Firing! Enemy!
Scanning for enemies. Shooting. Soul 7. We lost this one. It's over.
Now entering Demon Hours, there were still a couple of trophies left to pop for the first day. One being Alaraz Stand, which at first glance I thought was actually harder than it is. In some cases you only really need 1 kill. And I did think that this wipe would count given the other teammate was disconnected, but apparently they still count as being alive, which sure I guess, but it's kind of annoying, let's be honest. They're not in the game, that realistically should count, at least in my opinion. But again, not the end of the world, as we did manage to quite literally get it the next game. Not sure if you can tell, however, it was definitely elevated during that last gunfight, and that wasn't even the last time it was elevated, because later the same game, my game crashed, and I was like, oh no. Surely the trophies just aren't going to pop now, given the progress especially it pops after the games, but fortunately a couple minutes later it did seem to pop. I don't know if this was maybe because the game ended or... but that's the only thing it can be, I feel like. We also managed to pick up Animal Control for that same game, which requires you to kill 20 mounts, which again, it's pretty easy, it's just a cumulative trophy. Despite playing for a further 2 hours, we only actually got 2 more trophies, this being Tip of the Spear and My Axe, which is for playing 5 games as an Assault Warden, and arguably the hardest trophy on the whole list, Protocol 3, which is where you have to win a raid in under 12 minutes. Already hard enough, but also one of your teammates has to have 0 deaths, which I guess isn't too bad, because if you win it in 12 minutes, you'd probably smoke the other team anyway. Also to note, apologies about the game audio at this point. It turns out when I play with no game audio, it also means the recording will negate game audio. Rookie mistake, I guess, but we move. If you're struggling for the legendary kills, you need 77 for one of the trophies on this game, which is probably the grindiest, I would say. It was the second last trophy I got, but the knives from Scarlet's ult, these actually count for that. Don't know if they're going to fix that, but it's really good to know. I wish I knew. Moving on to day 2, something didn't feel right. I wasn't sure if maybe an update had dropped, but every couple of games seems to have connection issues, and my levels of fun dropped significantly. But luckily, our grinding yesterday had gotten us quite a significant amount of progress for a bunch of our remaining trophies, so within a couple of hours we'd clean these up. The main ones that could cause you an issue here can probably actually also be done at the same time. These being Overwhelming Force, which is 5 wins in under 10 minutes. This is really no joke. Shit. Pretty much have to raid and win not long after the siege break is even formed. Perfectly balanced, where you have to get 5 wins without overtime, which to get the Overwhelming Force you basically have to do this at the same time, because if you're going to overtime your game's almost certainly going over 10 minutes, and then you have 1 shot 1 kill, which is 5 wins with the Anchor Stone only. Again, to win in under 10 minutes, you can do it by planting both A and B, but doing the Echo Stone is obviously so much quicker, and it's not easier, but it does go a long way.
Stop them. Enemy bomb planted. We must stop it all the time.
Using the bomb.
Nice job. Defuse their bomb.
Taking damage. Firestorm. Hot red. Taking out the burn. Enemy vaporized.
Defense team, let's keep it going.
Following on from my cleanup from the previous day, we only actually now had 3 trophies left. Unfortunately, they did happen to be the longest trophies in the game, so what better place to get my overall thoughts on Highguard? Honestly, the game isn't awful, but it feels like it's just a few years too late. If it came out maybe 5-6 years ago, then yeah, maybe. When you're winning games, it's fun, but honestly, the downtime kills any momentum for me. The 3v3 aspect really does not help. Credit to the devs, they did just add a 5v5 mode whilst I'm editing this, so maybe that can help with some of the pacing issues, and it really is nice to see how quickly they're actively listening to the community and acting so fast. And who knows, maybe this game turns into be something amazing. Honestly, I hope that's the case and I'll be proven wrong. Now finally onto the 3 last trophies. The lesser of the 3 evils is Saboteur, where you need 20 bombs to explode the planted generators. I didn't realise at first, but for both planting and defusing, anchor doesn't count, which was really annoying and it had me thinking the game was bugged. Still, this isn't too difficult, it just takes a while. Next up is Send Their Regards, which requires 77 legendary kills. This one again isn't hard, it's just frustrating because most of my matches really weren't lasting long enough for me to even get a use of the legendary weapons. Luckily I had a couple of games where I picked up a bunch of kills, which definitely sped this up, because without those, I'd probably still be doing them now, to be honest. And then finally there's concord. This one, honestly, it's the devil. I spent so many games just waiting for teams to attack, just hoping for a chance to defuse. And half the time they'd just sit and spawn or they'd plant the anchor. I mean, come on guys. And you can only defuse each generator once per game. So I assume this is to stop farming, right? But I mean, if I defuse in the first attack, I then have to play up the whole game only to do it again the next game. This just wastes so much time and it was driving me insane, all just to get another defuse. Anyway, after a few hours we did finally get it and unlock the Platinum Trophy Pendragon. If you enjoyed this, please hit the like button and feel free to drop a comment with a game you'd like to see me play next. Until next time.
Shield breaker. Pick it up, team.
My blades.